Chapter 41. Tricks 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 41. Tricks Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. As soon as Xin saw Jiang Jin, she ran over with her arms open as she said affectionately, "Grandma, I've missed you so much." Jiang Jin smiled as she stepped back nimbly and sat on the sofa. Then, she said, "Look at this girl. You're just like a child. An old lady like me can't handle such passionate enthusiasm." Then, Xin took a seat next to Jiang Jin and said with a giggle, "Grandma, I miss you so much. Although I was exhausted after traveling, I didn't return home after I got off the plane. Instead, I came straight to you. Grandma, I'm a good child, right?" Jiang Jin smiled and patted Xin's hand. "What a good girl. You came at just the right time. I was about to go shopping with you. Let's go together." Xin hesitated when she heard Jiang Jin's words. "You said with a chuckle, old madam, you've forgotten Miss Yi is now a star. How can she go shopping with you? We'll be swamped by her fans in the mall." As though realization just dawned on her, Jiang Jin exclaimed, "Ah, look at me, I'm so forgetful. Xin's a star now, so she can't go shopping with an old woman like me." Xin made her mind and said decisively, "Grandma, it's fine. What do you want to buy?" "I'll go with you." Jiang Jin said in disbelief, "Really?" Xin nodded. "Of course. What's more important than making you happy?" Satisfied with her answer, Jiang Jin said to you, "See. Xin is a good and sensible girl. She's just the same as before even though she's famous now." You smiled in agreement. Soon after, the trio left the house. When the car was at the gate, they saw many paparazzi already waiting there. Jiang Jin said with a sigh, "Oh, Xin is really famous indeed. Look at the dozens of people waiting for her." A proud smile appeared on Xin's face immediately upon hearing these words. The driver drove slowly. Some bold paparazzi saw this as an opportunity and jumped in front of the car. The driver hurriedly stepped on the brake and said in a panic, "Old madam. You didn't hit anyone, did you?" Jiang Jin hurriedly asked. The driver quickly reassured Jiang Jin. No, it's nothing like that." "That's good." Jiang Jin sighed in relief. At this time, a paparazzi boldly approached the side of the car and began to take pictures as he yelled, Miss Yi, can you give us a comment?" Xin's expression soured. She turned her head away from the window, not wanting to look at the paparazzi. Jiang Jin patted Xin's tightly clenched hand and consoled Xin in a soft voice, "Silly girl, if you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. You're famous now. You must face the paparazzi directly. Speak to them frankly and elegantly. With that, more people will come to like you." A frown appeared on Xin's face. With an annoyed expression on her face, she explained, "Grandma, they're really irritating. They only want to ask about my private life." The truth was Xin had come to see Mu Chen. As long as she was photographed with Mu Chen today, those rumors of his marriage would surely vanish overnight. How could another woman apart from her marry Mu Chen? However, she had been forced to go shopping with Jiang Jin with just a few words from Jiang Jin. She did not even have time to ask about Mu Chen's whereabouts before she was guilt-tripped into playing the role of a filial granddaughter. Since Xin could no longer get out of shopping with Jiang Jin, she thought it would be fine even if she was photographed with Jiang Jin. It would indirectly confirm her relationship with Mu Chen if she was photographed with his grandmother, after all. However, she did not expect the driver would be so idiotic and stop the car in front of the paparazzi. How could she face the paparazzi when her manager and assistant were not with her? Xin could only grit her teeth to control her temper. Jiang Jin did not understand anything at all. At this moment, Jiang Jin patted Xin's hand and said, it's fine. I'll help you out. Before Yi Xian could react, Jiang Jin motioned to the driver to unlock the car. Then, she alighted the car swiftly. Grandma! Yi Xian exclaimed. However, it was too late. With this, the paparazzi swarmed around Jiang Jin and began throwing questions at her one after another. Mrs. Mu. Hello, Mrs. Mu. Mrs. Mu, is Miss Yi your granddaughter? Law. Mrs. Mu, are you satisfied with Miss Yi as your granddaughter? Law. Mrs. Mu, have Mr. Mu and Miss Yi registered their marriage? Mrs. Mu, when will the wedding banquet be held? Where will it be held? Yi Xian clenched her hands tightly. She was hesitating, wondering if she should get out of the car as well. If she did, it would be like confirming her relationship with Mu Chen. The image she had established for herself would collapse, and her endorsement deals might even be terminated. Naturally, she did not care if she had to pay a huge compensation for the termination of the contracts. However, she cared very much about her fans, if they would turn against her, and if her popularity would decline. Just like her lukewarm scandal back then, Yi Xian was in trouble again because of her impulsive behavior. Chapter 42. Making Things Public. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 42. Making Things Public. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Jiang Jin raised her hand, gesturing to the paparazzi to quiet down. Her intimidating aura was enough to make the paparazzi fall silent. When it was finally quiet, Jiang Jin smiled and said, if you have questions, ask them one by one. You will scare Miss Yi by bombarding her with questions in such a manner. A paparazzi asked tentatively, Mrs. Mu, where are you going with Miss Yi? Jiang Jin answered patiently, we're going to go shopping and have a meal together. I didn't expect to meet all of you as soon as we left the house. Upon seeing Jiang Jin's amicable attitude, the paparazzi relaxed. Soon enough, one of them asked, Mrs. Mu, will we be receiving good news about Miss Yi and Mr. Mu soon? Seeing Jiang Jin's friendly attitude, the paparazzi also relaxed. Jiang Jin raised her eyebrows and asked in confusion, good news? What are you talking about? To the paparazzi, it seemed like Jiang Jin was trying to evade the question. Therefore, one of them bluntly said, I'm talking about the marriage between Miss Yi and Mr. Mu. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Jin smiled and waved her hand dismissively. Ha! Everyone, please stop spreading such baseless rumors. Mu Chen watched Yi Xian grow up, he treats her like a sister. What do you mean by marriage? Please stop spreading such nonsense. Upon hearing these words, Yi Xian, who was sitting in the car, sighed in relief. Indeed. She was not ready to confirm her relationship with Mu Chen. She planned to make things public when she could use it to boost her career. Moreover, at that time, she would be able to use the public's pressure to force Mu Chen to marry her. She understood Mu Chen very well. Although she did not think Mu Chen would marry another person apart from her, she knew he was stubborn and had a hot temper. She had to use external force to make him submit to her wish. Yi Xian knew this was not the right time to confirm anything to prevent things from backfiring on her. She could not simply make a statement at this moment. It was better for Jiang Jin to speak. Apart from that, Jiang Jin's words also showed how much Jiang Jin loved her. With this, when this matter developed further in the future, the paparazzi and netizens would not be able to use Jiang Jin's words to mock her. This was simply perfect. At this moment, a paparazzi asked, then, why didn't Mr. Mu come forward to clarify previously when both of them had a dating scandal? Clarify? What does he need to clarify? Mu Chen and Miss Yi are just friends. Why should he prove his innocence? My grandson is stubborn, he wouldn't concern himself with such nonsense. Jiang Jin was clearly filled with pride when she spoke about Mu Chen. Mrs. Mu, I heard that President Mu has a girlfriend. Is that true? Someone asked. Jiang Jin shook her head and sighed again. Don't listen to these baseless rumors. You shouldn't report such nonsense. Someone photographed Mr. Mu with a female doctor. Isn't she his girlfriend? Jiang Jin laughed before she replied, a female doctor. That's not his girlfriend, that's his wife. What? With a smile on her face, Jiang Jin revealed this explosive news. Not only was the paparazzi present on the scene stunned by this revelation, but even Yi Xian, who was still in the car, was stunned. One of the paparazzi reacted quickly. As soon as he regained his senses, he quickly asked, wife. Mr. Mu is married. Jiang Jin nodded. A joyful smile appeared on her face as she said, yes. I read the articles written by some of you a few days ago. What's that nonsense? My grandson isn't seeing anyone else apart from my granddaughter. Law. He's a loyal man. He even said the only way for them to be separated is if one of them passes away. The paparazzi, still shocked by this explosive revelation, suddenly did not know what to ask next. After a moment, someone finally asked, so, Mr. Mu and Miss Yi are not lovers? Of course. Mu Chen has always treated Yi Xian like a sister. I watched my grandson and Miss Yi grow up. If those two really have feelings for each other, they would have been together a long time ago. Why would they wait so many years? The paparazzi felt that Jiang Jin had a point. It seemed like those rumors were just a publicity stunt by Miss Ye's agency. Mrs. Mu, please tell us about President Mu and his wife. When will they hold a wedding banquet? Is his wife really a doctor? Jiang Jin smiled and said with a sigh. I can't answer this question. My granddaughter. Law is pursuing her PhD, and she has yet to graduate. I think they'll only hold a wedding banquet after she graduates. Mu Chen is madly in love with her, so he decided to register their marriage first. He's afraid she would run away from him. After she finished speaking, she laughed happily. Everyone followed suit and laughed as well. They could not help but wonder what kind of woman Mu Chen's wife was. To be able to marry a man like Mu Chen and have a grandmother. Law like Jiang Jin defending her, she was definitely blessed by the heavens. Nevertheless, no matter who that woman was, it was definitely not Yi Xian, the popular actress, who had yet to show her face until now. Chapter 43. A clear clarification. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 43. A clear clarification. When the security guards of the Four Seasons Cloudy Peak saw Jiang Jin's car had been stopped by the paparazzi, one of them came over to have a look and persuaded the paparazzi to leave. Meanwhile, after Jiang Jin entered the car, she patted Yi Xian's hand and said, Yi Xian, look, isn't it simple? The paparazzi are only hounding you because it's the nature of their job. As long as you tell them what they want to know, they will, naturally, stop pestering you. How great is it? I've already clearly clarified the matter to them so they won't write nonsensical articles about you and Mu Chen in the future. I know popular stars like you don't like being involved in scandals, so I clarified the matter for you to save you trouble. It seemed as though Jiang Jin was kindly giving Yi Xian advice about how to deal with the paparazzi. However, Yi Xian felt her heart turn cold at this moment. Seeing Yi Xian's lack of response, Jiang Jin patted Yi Xian's hand again and asked, don't you think so, Yi Xian? With these words, Yi Xian finally regained her senses. She felt as though she had exhausted all her strength as she composed herself and asked, Grandma, did you say Mu Chen is married? Jiang Jin nodded enthusiastically. She said with barely concealed joy, that's right. Mu Chen has always been a sensible and filial grandson. He told me was going to give me a surprise. Let me tell you, Yi Xian, I was so happy that even my health improved by leaps and bounds. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have the energy to invite you out shopping today. If you see anything you like later, tell me. I'll buy it for you. Apart from the words, "That's right," Yi Xian filtered out the rest of Jiang Jin's words. When did Mu Chen get married? Jiang Jin thought about it for a moment, trying to recall the exact date, before she said, "Just last Monday." Last Monday. Isn't that the day Mu Chen asked Chen Che to call me? With this thought in mind, Yi Xian came to the conclusion that Mu Chen had only gotten married as a pretense. Now that she had calmed down, she decided she would not tell the joyful Jiang Jin in front of her the truth. Jiang Jin was Mu Chen's grandmother after all. When she married Mu Chen in the future, she would still need to rely on Jiang Jin. Everyone knew only Jiang Jin was able to subdue a stubborn man like Mu Chen. Thus, she needed to flatter and win over Jiang Jin's heart. If she carefully nurtured her relationship with Jiang Jin, it would definitely be her trump card in the future. At this moment, as though she had just realized something was amiss with Yi Xian, Jiang Jin asked, "Yi Xian, why are your hands so cold?" Yi Xian calmed herself down and forced a smile on her face. "Grandma, I feel a little unwell. Perhaps, it's due to jet lag." Jiang Jin asked, "What's wrong? Do you want to go to the hospital?" Yi Xian shook her head. "There's no need for that, Grandma. If it's okay, can you send me home to rest? I'll accompany you to go shopping another day." Jiang Jin hurriedly nodded. "Shopping isn't important, your health is more important." Then, she looked at the driver and said, "Wang, please send Miss Yi home." As soon as Yi Xian returned to her house, she shut herself in her room and tried to recall everything that happened. That day, Chen Che called her and made it clear that Mu Chen wanted to marry her as a pretense just to comfort his grandmother. He had made it clear that they would get a divorce once his grandmother's health improved. He was willing to give her half of his wealth after their divorce. She had refused him at that time. Although it was just a pretense, they still had to legally register their marriage. At that time, she could not get married since she was still waiting for the results of the award. She had acted carefully all this time. She had even convinced her brother to make her dark past vanish, which cost her brother a lot of money. She needed everything to be perfect. At that time, she had planned to marry Mu Chen after she won the award. Then, she would make their marriage public at the right time. If it was timed carefully, she would definitely become an A-list star. Therefore, she decided to wait for a few months. Jiang Jin had been ill for such a long time, it should not matter if Jiang Jin had to wait a little longer. When the time came, she would ask her sister for help, and everything would be resolved. Alas, contrary to her expectations, Chen Che did not call her again. At that time, she was worried Mu Chen would personally call her and beg her to marry him. If that happened, she really did not know what she would do. After all, Mu Chen had never asked anyone for help in his entire life, and she could bear to reject him at all if he had personally asked her for help. Therefore, she was rather happy she did not receive any calls from Mu Chen at that time. She only managed to relax after 2 days. Yi Xian had been very certain that Mu Chen was waiting for her. After all, apart from her, who would want a business marriage? Moreover, he had always been picky in regard to women. Even if he was desperate to get married for his grandmother's sake, he would not randomly select a woman to marry. Apart from that, his grandmother was smart, an ordinary woman would not be able to fool her. Nevertheless, despite her certainty and confidence, she still felt anxious. At that time, she could not wait to receive the award and return home. To her dismay, not only did she not win the award, but as soon as she returned home, she received news that Mu Chen had already gotten married. She knew she had made a big mistake and lost a great opportunity. With this thought in mind, she screamed and swept everything on the dressing table in front of her to the ground. Chapter 44. Yi Xian's Mother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 44. Yi Xian's Mother. Xian. Xian. What's wrong? Yi Xian's mother, Gao Wen pushed Yi Xian's room door open and hugged her clearly furious daughter. Clearly distressed, she asked anxiously, "Who upset you, Xian? Don't cry. Why don't you tell mother what happened? Who bullied you?" The Yi family had more male descendants and fewer female descendants this generation. Therefore, Yi Xian was spoiled and treated like a princess by the entire Yi family. The Yi family did not think their actions of indulging Yi Xian were inappropriate. After all, in their opinions, girls should be doted on and spoiled. Moreover, they felt a woman would only be respected by her in-laws if her in-laws could see how much they spoiled and loved her. This would not only prevent Yi Xian from being bullied but also strengthen her relationship with her in-laws. Moreover, Yi Xing had always been beautiful since she was a child. Among the young misses in the wealth circle of M City, she could be considered as one of the most beautiful. Yi Xian was ambitious, capable, and strove to be the best in everything. She was the pride of the Yi family. Therefore, when she first declared she was going to join the entertainment circle, her family did not object to it strongly even though her father and brother were quite disapproving of it. In any case, the Yi family knew with their family's status, Yi Xian would not be bullied in the entertainment industry. If she became famous, her status would be further elevated. Even if she was not successful, what little fame she gained would still benefit her. Moreover, they knew of Yi Xian's intention of marrying into the Mu family. Since Mu Chen's mother had dabbled in the entertainment industry when she was alive, Mu Chen had invested heavily in the entertainment industry. Therefore, they thought she had everything to gain when she entered the entertainment industry. As expected, Yi Xian's journey in the entertainment industry had been smooth sailing. Moreover, due to her slight similarity to Ning Xia, the award-winning actress, her rise to fame was meteoric. Ning Xia and Liang Zhen had a connection. Therefore, when Yi Xian's elder brother, Yi Cheng, found out about this, he had smiled and told his parents that he did not expect his seemingly spoiled younger sister would be able to come up with such a scheme. It seemed like she was all grown up. Yi Cheng was the mainstay of the new generation in the Yi family. Since he was young, he had been classmates with Mu Chen. Therefore, upon hearing him praising his younger sister, his parents felt even more confident about their daughter. Apart from that, since Yi Xian was from a wealthy family, she had always been generous with the people in the entertainment industry, so she was rather popular in the industry. For all these reasons, Gao Wen was at a loss when she saw her daughter so furious. She had not seen her daughter in such a state for a long time now. Yi Xian pushed her mother away before she fell to the ground, sobbing. Gao Wen ordered the servants anxiously, "Quick! Call Yang Li and Peng to see what's going on." Then, she returned her attention to Yi Xian and continued to ask, "What's wrong? Who made you so upset, Xian?" When Yang Li and Peng finally arrived, Gao Wen had just put her daughter to bed. She looked at Yang Li with a frown on her face and asked, "Yang Li, what happened to Xian? Why is she so upset?" Yang Li could be considered an experienced manager. In the entertainment industry, everyone respectfully addressed her as Ms. Yang. However, in front of Gao Wen, she was a nobody. She hurriedly replied, "Madam, she's upset she didn't win the Lily Award. Moreover, she wasn't even nominated." Gao Wen raised an eyebrow and asked, "What happened? Didn't you confirm the result before traveling abroad?" Yang Li nodded. "We did. The netizens and the VIPs were all very supportive of Xian, so we were confident about her victory. Moreover, our company also received internal news that Xian had a high chance of winning the Best Actress award. Apart from that, several famous brands came forward to request endorsement deals with her. The famous brands are usually very well connected. Upon seeing them requesting Xian to endorse them, we were further convinced the news was true." Up until now, Yang Li still had not figured out how they managed to make such a big mistake. She had been managing celebrities for many years now, and this was the first time she had been so thoroughly tricked into committing such a huge mistake. Gao Wen nodded. Investigate this matter, find out who's behind it. Is it possible that it's one of her rivals? Yang Li hurriedly replied, I've already investigated this matter, but I didn't find a single clue. Gao Wen looked at Yang Li contemptuously before she turned to look at the housekeeper standing next to her and said, Tell the young master to look into this matter. The housekeeper did not dally and prepared to look for Yi Cheng. However, before the housekeeper could leave, Gao Wen stopped her and turned to Yang Li before she asked, Is there anything else you didn't tell me? Is this all there is to it? Gao Wen knew if this was all there was to the matter, Yi Xian would have called her brother before she even returned home. Moreover, her son should have heard about this matter a long time ago as well. After all, their family's Yi Xian was so much more famous compared to the other wannabes. Upon hearing Gao Wen's question, Yang Li felt chills running up her spine. After a beat, she replied, Madam, when we were at the airport, we heard from the paparazzi that Mu Chen is married. After that, Xian left and went to the Mu family's residence. Gao Wen straightened her back as soon as she heard Yang Li's reply. What? Mu Chen's married? Yang Li nodded. Gao Wen laughed. What a joke. Where did the rumor come from? How could our family not know if Mu Chen had gotten married? Yang Li remained silent. She had been waiting in the van outside of the Mu residence earlier, so she and the other staff had clearly heard Jiang Jin's words. After mulling over the matter for a moment, Yang Lin decided to tell the truth. The day before we went abroad, Xian received a call from Mu Chen's assistant. He asked Xian to pretend to marry him to make his grandmother happy. Although there would be no feelings involved, they would have to legally register their marriage. Gao Wen interjected, Xian refused. Yang Li nodded. Gao Wen smiled. Xian did the right thing. Chapter 45. The Game Theory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 45. The Game Theory. How can Xian possibly agree to a sham of a marriage? If he wants to marry her, he has to properly ask for her hand in marriage. It's necessary for the Mu family to show their sincerity, after all, Gao Wen said as she lifted her chin arrogantly. I understand, Yang Li replied. However, when a paparazzi asked Xian about this matter at the airport, she got angry and threw the paparazzi's phone away. Oh. Did you take care of that matter? Gao Wen was not surprised. She was well aware of her daughter's temper after all. Yang Li nodded. Don't worry, madam. I've already taken care of it. Then, she hesitated for a while before she said, after that, Xian went to the Mu residence. We didn't follow her in. When Xian and Mrs. Mu were driven out in Mrs. Mu's car, they were stopped by the paparazzi at the gates. At that time, Mrs. Mu announced to the paparazzi that Mu Chen has already gotten married. I'm guessing this is the reason why Xian is so upset. Gao Wen chuckled as she said, what a silly girl. What's there to be upset about? It's obviously just a marriage of convenience. A fake marriage. The old madam of the Mu family was so desperate for a granddaughter.in.law that she's fooled by Mu Chen's petty tricks. How embarrassing. Her words will certainly come back and bite her in the future. Following that, Gao Wen waved her hand dismissively at Yang Li as she said, okay, I get it now. You may leave. Xian has been quite tired these days, so we should let her rest for a few days. I'll leave it to you to make the necessary arrangements. If you need someone to write a statement on her behalf, contact Yi Cheng's secretary to make arrangements. It's not a big deal if she didn't win that award. We can always boost her popularity in other ways. Yes, Yang Li replied before she left the Yi residence with Peng, Yi Xian's assistant. After they left, Peng said in a low voice, Ms. Yang, Miss Yi Xian's mother is really terrifying. Every time I stand in front of her, I get goosebumps all over. Yang Li only smiled as she looked at Peng's innocent face. This assistant was a little too cowardly. After a while, Yang Li wondered if she would ever have the luck to meet Ning Xiao. If she could be Ning Xia's manager, she would sincerely thank the heavens. How could Yi Xin, the little Ning Xia? How a candle to the original. Yang Li sighed inwardly. The longer she worked with Yi Xin, the more she could see that Yi Xin was not like Ning Xia at all. Perhaps, Yi Xin slightly resembled Ning Xia when she debuted. However, after 2 years, this was no longer the case. Moreover, what was the use even if Yi Xin resembled Ning Xia when there was such a huge disparity between their personalities? Yang Li could not imagine how disappointed the fans would be if they ever found out little Ning Xia was such a person. Yang Li closed her eyes as she recalled the time when Ning Xia announced her retirement. Needless to say, Ning Xia's fans were devastated. With the debut of Yi Xin, the little Ning Xia, many of Ning Xia's fans placed their hopes in Yi Xin. Unfortunately, Yi Xin could not live up to their high hopes. It would have been fine if Yi Xin was truly deserving of the hopes they had placed on her. However, Yi Xin did not even have a proper foundation, let alone talent and abilities. Yang Li shook her head. She no longer dared to think about the matter. At this time, the housekeeper informed Gao Wen that she had a phone call. Yi Cheng, I finally managed to calm your sister down. You have to quickly find out what's going on. Yi Cheng said in a relaxed tone, Mom, Mu Chen wouldn't marry a plain Jane. He's incredibly picky. Previously, you didn't listen when I objected to using him for publicity. Although that kid didn't speak out, I knew he was planning something. How about this? I'll invite him over to our house for dinner one of these days. At that time, we'll get Xin to apologize to him and resolve this matter once and for all. If Xin wants to marry him, she should stop being so stubborn and stop playing hard to get. Mu Chen isn't like those little boys who've chased after since she was a child. Doesn't Xin love his aloofness? Then, she should stop trying to use all these tricks on him. That way, she'll be able to marry him, and will finally feel at ease. Upon hearing her son's words, Gao Wen raised her voice and said sharply, Why are you taking his side? Xin is your sister. Mom, can you please calm down? I'm, naturally, on Xin's side. Xin likes Mu Chen and wants to marry him, so we must think of a way to pair them up, right? If Xin doesn't like him, then there's no need for us to be courteous to him. We could have settled the matter with a fight. Yi Cheng said with a hint of mirth in his tone. Can you be serious for once? I don't care if it's a marriage of convenience or what, you have to find out the identity of the woman Mu Chen married. No other woman's allowed to marry the man Xin loves. Gao Wen demanded before she hung up. Following that, she turned around and ordered a servant, boil some soup for the young lady, and bring it to her when she wakes up. Chapter 46. Family, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 46. Family. Song Ning was unaware of what had happened earlier in the day. At this moment, she was happily presenting all kinds of cakes to Jiang Jin. Grandma, that shop has some really tasty cakes. I picked a few of them and brought them back for you. However, you have to promise me that you will only eat 2 bites from each cake at most. They're high in sugar and fats, so they're not good for your health. Noel Lenem. Jiang Jin was overjoyed and promised Song Ning without any hesitation. Okay. I promise. I promise. Let's have a taste. If we can't finish them, we can give them to Mu Chen. Mu Chen frowned. Grandma, am I a trash can? Jiang Jin ignored him and began to eat the cakes with Song Ning. She was as happy as a child at this moment. Amused, Song Ning gently nudged Jiang Jin before she said, Grandma, Mu Chen seems jealous. Jiang Jin rolled her eyes at her grandson before she said to Song Ning, Don't pay any attention to him. Let me tell you this, you can't be too nice to a man. Otherwise, they'd start acting up. I'll teach you a few techniques to control your man and how to make him listen to you obediently. Mu Chen, who was sitting next to them, sighed. Grandma, I'm your grandson. Song Ning is just your granddaughter. Law. How can you take her side? You should be teaching me how to control my wife and how to make her obedient. Jiang Jin took a bite of the strawberry-flavored cake. She closed her eyes in delight as she tasted the cake. When she was done, she said solemnly, my granddaughter. Law is very obedient, but I can't say the same about you. I have to keep a close eye on you so that you won't bully Ning. If you mistreat her, I'll beat you up like when you're a child. Don't think I won't do it. Mu Chen nodded helplessly. Okay, I know, old madam. Song Ning felt a warm feeling rising in her heart as she looked at the grandmother and grandson duo. After a moment, she asked curiously, did Grandma really beat you when you were a child? Mu Chen nodded. She did. She was very strict with me. I can still remember it vividly. Jiang Jin ignored Mu Chen and said to Song Ning, if you have a son in the future, you must discipline him strictly. However, if you have a daughter, you must be gentle to her. I hope your daughter will be as gentle as you. Mu Chen smiled and said, if we have children, you must help us to raise them. You're very experienced after all. Jiang Jin glared at him. You're the father of the child, so you should take care of him or her. Why should I raise your child for you? Mu Chen patted Song Ning's shoulder as he said, I want to have alone time with Song Ning, and I don't want our child to disturb us. He or she can keep you company at that time. Don't you think it'd be nice? Song Ning moved away from his hand. Her cheeks were flushed red at this moment. On the other hand, Jiang Jin grinned from ear to ear as she pointed to Mu Chen and said, deal. I hope you won't regret this. Why would I regret this? I've planned this for a long time. Mu Chen shrugged indifferently. Even you and Mr. Jiang who were standing at the side could not help but smile. Song Ning discreetly kicked Mu Chen's leg under the table. He responded by reaching out and holding her hand as he looked at her blushing face from the corners of his eyes. He thought to himself, Song Ning, all you need to do is wait while I present the entire world to you. A few hours later, Mu Chen and Yi Xian made the headlines. On Mu Chen's side, he was pictured holding hands with a slender woman as they walked out of a cake shop. They were also photographed driving back to the Four Seasons Cloudy Peak. Although the paparazzi did not have a clear shot of the woman's face, based on the couple's body language, it was obvious the couple had a good relationship. Meanwhile, on Yi Xian's side, she, Mu Chen's rumored girlfriend, was photographed with Mrs. Mu in the same car while they were on the way to the mall. At that time, Mrs. Mu had alighted from the car and confirmed two things to the paparazzi present on the scene. First, Mu Chen had already registered his marriage. However, since the other party was still a student, the wedding banquet would be postponed for the time being. Second, Mu Chen and Yi Xian were never lovers. Apart from that, Mu Chen had only regarded Yi Xian as a little sister. These articles caused a huge uproar on the internet. Everyone's attention was on the mysterious woman by Mu Chen's side. Mu Chen sighed before he glanced at Song Ning. She had her glasses on at this moment as she did her research on her computer. Song Ning did not have the habit of reading news online, and she seemed to live in another world. Therefore, she was unaware that she had become the topic of discussion for many people on the internet. Mu Chen fell into a daze as he looked at Song Ning. He was deeply attracted to her diligent personality. When she was an actress, she did her best and reached the pinnacle of her career after her first film. When she resolutely retired at the height of her fame, she did not turn back at all. She did not even look at the entertainment news at all. As a student, she was just as diligent, always doing her best. He had heard that she had been receiving a special scholarship every year. Professor Li Sen was filled with praise for her, but she did not let herself get complacent. She continued to work tirelessly to better herself. She was always hungry for knowledge, absorbing them like a sponge. Apart from that, she was incredibly calm and decisive. It might seem cold how she seemed able to advance and retreat with no hesitation at all, but he knew she had erected a thick barrier around herself. He knew it was her way of protecting herself. It had become instinctive for her to keep her guard up. Chapter 47. Ching Che. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 47. Ching Che. After Ching Che got off the plane, he was dragged back to the company. Thereafter, the secretary moved the small mountain of files to his office. Ching Che picked up the document on top as he asked the secretary, "Isn't this Mr. Mu's documents?" The secretary nodded. "Mr. Mu asked you to deal with them because he's busy." "Busy? What's he up to?" Ching Che took a sip of the coffee that was just made by the secretary. The secretary fell silent for a moment. She gulped, clearly nervous, before she said in a small voice, "Mr. Mu is busy spending time with his wife." Upon hearing this, Ching Che choked on his coffee and began to cough violently. The secretary hastily handed her boss a few pieces of tissue paper as she looked at him sympathetically. Ching Che took the few pieces of tissue paper from her as he said, "See. Come again." The secretary cleared her throat and repeated her words. "Mr. Mu said that he wants to spend time with his wife, so he's busy. He asked you to help him with this. Is he even human? I just got off the plane. I have been on a business trip for more than 10 days. I'm still jet-lagged." Ching Che said indignantly. The secretary straightened her back immediately, frightened by her boss' outburst. Wait, wife. He said he wanted to spend time with his wife?" Ching Che asked. The secretary nodded. "How could it be? Did Mu Chen not marry that woman only to appease his grandmother? Was his marriage not a marriage of convenience? Spending time with his wife. What was going on?" Ching Che was stunned and confused. What happened over the past 10 days? Mu Chen was only thinking about spending time with his wife while he had been so pitiful, worrying about the company when he was abroad. The secretary silently handed Ching Che his mobile phone. Ching Che glanced at her as he pushed his glasses on the bridge of his nose out of habit. He took the phone and scrolled through it before asking the secretary, "What did I miss?" The secretary said carefully, "Just the beginning of the story. You'll be able to catch up with the drama quickly." Ching Che returned the phone to the secretary. "Are there many paparazzi camping outside our company building?" The secretary nodded. "And?" Ching Che asked again. "That's why Mr. Mu decided not to come into the company and spend time with his wife instead. Assistant Cheng, some of these documents require your signature while some need to be discussed in a meeting." Then, the secretary began to say enthusiastically. Ching Che pushed his glasses up again and interjected, "Make me a cup of coffee, and make it extra strong." What could Ching Che do when faced with his friend's unreasonable demand? Friends should have each other's backs after all. Nonetheless, Ching Che was now very curious about the woman who managed to enchant Mu Chen. Although Mu Chen was not gay, he had always been immune to women's charms. He was like an emotionless robot. In his grandmother's words, he was romantically incompetent. If it were not for this, his grandmother would not have made such a huge fuss to force him to get married. It was not the first time his grandmother had made such demands, but she was extra adamant this time. She even went on a 2-day hunger strike, which truly frightened Mu Chen and Ching Che. Moreover, previously, they had just found his grandmother had tumors. How could he not be worried? Therefore, when his grandmother went on a hunger strike, he surrendered immediately. At that time, Ching Che suggested getting a fake marriage certificate to Mu Chen. Initially, Mu Chen had opposed the idea. However, Mu Chen could not think of any other solution, so he could only follow Ching Che's suggestion. Following that, they had a tough time choosing a suitable candidate since Mu Chen was not romantically involved with anyone. It was not safe to simply find a random woman after all, and they might not be able to fool Mu Chen's grandmother if the woman they hired was not smart enough. In the end, the only feasible candidate left was Yi Xian. At that time, the duo even did a risk assessment of getting Yi Xian involved in the matter. They concluded the two of them also did a risk assessment for getting Yi Xian involved. The worst possible outcome would be Mu Chen having to get married for real and that he might not be able to get rid of Yi Xian when the time came. Mu Chen was in a dilemma and was still hesitating when he received news that his grandmother had refused the porridge you had brought to her, overturning the bowl. As soon as he heard this, he had hastily grabbed his car key and left after telling Ching Che to call Yi Xian and tell her to meet him at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. He could not wait a minute longer. However, Mu Chen and Ching Che had miscalculated. As the strong wind blew against them as they stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, he did not even dare to look at Mu Chen's face. At that time, Ching Che was angry at Yi Xian, but he felt sorry for her as well. She stood Mu Chen up during such a critical time, so he knew there was no way she would ever be able to marry Mu Chen after this. He really wanted to call Yi Cheng and tell him this was his sister's only chance to marry Mu Chen. To his surprise, Mu Chen married a young girl he met at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. What a coincidence! What was even more unexpected was that Ching Che's, Mu Chen, would get entangled in such a strange matter. It was a shocking miracle. Ching Che sighed as he thought about this and signed the documents that needed his attention. Chapter 48. Vicious. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 48. Vicious. Ching Che was deep in his thoughts when he received a call from Yi Cheng. Yi Cheng did not beat around the bush as he said, "Ching Che, what's going on? Why is Mu Chen so angry? Is he serious? My sister is sobbing day and night. Can you ask Mu Chen to meet me? I don't mind apologizing to him as long as he calms down and explains to the paparazzi that those are just groundless rumors. If he insists, we can make his relationship with Xian public. Her acting career isn't as important as their marriage. We'll deal with the matters of her career after they've settled down." Yi Cheng went straight to the point. Ching Che sighed inwardly. The Yi family truly believed Yi Xian was the only woman Mu Chen would consider marrying. This was probably why Yi Xian dared to refuse Mu Chen back then. After a moment, he steeled himself and refused Yi Cheng. "President Yi, I'm not particularly clear about the specifics of this matter. I just returned from a business trip, and I've yet to meet him. Isn't Mu Chen in the company? I couldn't get through to him, so the secretary transferred the call to you." Yi Chen was clearly dissatisfied. Ching Che cursed inwardly, "Mu Chen, damn you. Aren't you just using me?" In the end, Ching Che had no choice but to lie, using Mu Chen's almighty grandmother as an excuse. "Ah, that's right, President Yi, about that, Mu Chen's grandmother asked him to go home." Upon hearing Ching Che's words, Yi Cheng no longer asked any questions. It was not a secret that Mu Chen's #1 priority was his grandmother. In the end, Yi Cheng only said, "Fine. Please help me to invite him out for a meal." "Yes, President Yi." Ching Che heaved a sigh of relief after successfully dealing with the matter that was foisted on him. Meanwhile, as soon as Yi Cheng put the phone down, he asked his secretary, "Have you found out the woman's identity yet?" The secretary nodded as she handed the dossier on Song Ning to Yi Chen. However, Yi Chen waved his hand dismissively and said, "I've no interest in this. Give it to Yi Xian." "Understood," the secretary replied before withdrawing from the office. At this moment, Yi Xian was with Yang Li and Peng. After crying the entire day yesterday, coupled with her mother and her brother's persuasion, she had calmed down. Yi Xian gritted her teeth before she said viciously, "When I find out who the little B***tch is, I'll skin her alive." Peng glanced at Yang Li timidly before she lowered her head. Yang Li sighed. "Xian, don't be impulsive. How can she hold a candle to you? You're obviously superior to her. If the public finds out about your conflict with her, it'll damage your image." You must remember that you'll be an award-winning actress in the future. What award-winning actress? I wasn't even nominated. Ms. Yang, are you mocking me? Yi Xin said furiously. Yang Li panicked inwardly. However, outwardly, she managed to maintain her composure as she calmly said, Yi Xin, you're only 20.2 years old. After 3 years, you'll only be 20.5. These are the best years of your life. You'll definitely improve during these 3 years. You're the company's favorite, the company will arrange for you to act in other movies. It's just a matter of time before you win an award. Upon hearing Yang Li's words, Yi Xin's anger visibly eased. At the same time, Peng looked at Yang Li in admiration. In her opinion, Yi Xin was a ticking time bomb, and Yang Li was an elite at defusing the time bomb. Not only was Yang Li capable of placating Yi Xin, but Yang Li was also capable of placating Yi Xin's mother. At this moment, Yi Xin's phone vibrated, and Peng trembled involuntarily. In an attempt to prevent Yi Xin from throwing her mobile phone in anger, Yang Li had instructed her to hold on to Yi Xin's phone. Apart from that, it was also to prevent Yi Xin from impulsively posting inappropriate posts on the internet. Peng instinctively clicked on the message. She was stunned when she saw the content of the message. What's the matter? Yi Xin asked. Peng hurriedly replied, Oh, President Yi sent us a document. It's about the person who's rumored to have married Mr. Mu. Yi Xin snatched the phone from Peng's hand and began to look through the file that was sent to her. Ha, I thought she's some hotshot, but she's just a student. A 20.6-year-old doctorate student. Isn't she old? She's a doctorate student. Mu Chen must have been so anxious to get married that he had to lower his standards. Since she's a doctorate student, I bet she's not beautiful at all. Only an ugly girl has to study so much, Yi Xin said contemptuously as she returned the phone to Peng. After a beat, Yi Xin rose to her feet. Then, she said with a sneer, I'm going to get changed. Let's go and meet this doctorate student. I want to ask her how much money she charged Mu Chen for this. I must make her return it to me. How dare she take Mu Chen's money? How shameless. I can't believe she has the guts to do such a thing. I must ruin her reputation and force her to leave the hospital. No. I want to drive her out of M City. I'll make it so that no one would dare to take her in then. Yang Li wanted to stop Yi Xin. However, after pondering on it for a moment, she refrained from saying anything. With Yi Xin's temper, she knew she could only let Yi Xin act as she pleased. The Yi family was wealthy and influential. As long as Yi Xing did not cross the line, Yi Cheng would help her deal with any situation that arose. Yang Li could not help but pity the unsuspecting and innocent girl who was the target of Yi Xin's wrath. Alas, this was a dog-eat-dog world. There was nothing she could do about this. Chapter 49. Scandal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 49. Scandal. After Yi Xin entered the locker room, Peng held up the phone in front of Yang Li and whispered, Ms. Yang, look at this person. She looks familiar. Yang Li took the phone and glanced at it casually. When she saw the picture, her heart began to race wildly in her chest. When Peng saw Yang Li staring at her, she said timidly, I think she looks a little like Miss Yi Xin. There were two people in the photo. Mu Chen and a slender woman. They looked very close with their fingers intertwined. The woman tilted her head slightly as she smiled at Mu Chen while Mu Chen looked down at her. The photo was rather blurry, so Mu Chen's face was not very clear in the photo. Even then, it was not difficult to identify him due to his body and mannerism. At a glance, the woman, indeed, resembled Yi Xin, but she was much more slender than Yi Xin. Her innocent smile really resembled Yi Xin. No, this person did not resemble Yi Xin. This person resembled Ning Xiao. Yang Li recalled the woman's name was Song Ning, and she was 26 years old, according to the dossier of information that was sent to Yi Xian. She thought to herself, even their age matches up. Yang Li put the phone down and said to Peng, accompany Miss Yi later. I'm heading back to the company, something urgent has come up. Peng was stunned. But, Ms. Yang Li, I don't know how to fight. What should I do if a fight breaks out? Yang Li glanced at the locker room door before she said, you must prevent her from getting into a fight. If she's photographed fighting, her reputation will be ruined. Use this reason to persuade her. I'm sure she'll listen if you say that. After Yang Li left, Peng paced around in circles, feeling frightened and anxious. Meanwhile, Yi Xian did her makeup meticulously. She would not lose to an ugly doctorate student. When she was finally done, Yang Li had already been gone for a long time. Peng stammered as she repeated Yang Li's earlier words to Yi Xian. To Peng's surprise, Yi Xian did not kick up a fuss and was cooperative. She patted Peng's shoulder and said, don't worry, I'm not going to get into a fight with her. I just want to take a look at her. It's so rare to see a female doctorate student after all. Aren't you curious to meet her as well? When she finished speaking, she laughed at her own remark. Following that, Peng timidly followed Yi Xian out. Meanwhile, Song Ning was busy as usual. Jiehui placed a cup of Americano on Song Ning's table before she tapped her fingers on the table. Hey, can you raise your head and look at me? Meanwhile, Song Ning was busy as usual. Song Ning raised her head and glanced at Jiehui as she remarked, your face is a little swollen, Song Ning. Have you lost your mind? Jiehui said through gritted teeth as she glared at Song Ning with her round eyes. Song Ning smiled and picked up the cup of coffee before she patted Jiehui's hand and asked, what do you mean, Jiehui? Tell me. Jiehui pulled her chair closer to Song Ning and took a seat before she said, Ning, you can't continue working yourself to the bones like this. You're now married. Can't you take better care of yourself? I'm fine. Song Ning took a sip of coffee. After a pause, she added, Mu Chen and Grandma are fine as well, hey. Jiehui gritted her teeth. Are you showing off? Song Ning looked at Jiehui's face that was drawing closer to her and leaned backward before she pushed Jiehui away. You were the one who brought up the topic. Jiehui pulled Song Ning's chair closer to her and said indignantly, you have no conscience, you ingrate. Song Ning smiled and averted her eyes. What are you trying to say? Jiehui realized that she had gone off topic. Bam! Jiehui slammed her mobile phone down on the table. Look at the news about you and Mu Chen. You're now the most popular person on the internet. Bam! She slammed her cell phone on the table. You're even more popular than Yi Xian, the little Ning Xia. Song Ning's smile faded as she looked at Jiehui's phone. What's going on? Tell me in detail. Jiehui looked around warily. Upon seeing this, Song Ning said, don't worry. It's just the two of us here. Jiehui was upset with how calm Song Ning was. This was not the point, but she could not be bothered to argue with Song Ning now. Did you know there were rumors that Mu Chen has a girlfriend? It was Yi Xian, the popular celebrity. Yi Xian comes from a wealthy family, so she really doesn't need to work at all. However, she insisted on entering the entertainment industry. When she debuted, she was known for her resemblance to the mysterious actress, Ning Xia. Therefore, Yi Xian was known as Little Ning Xia. It's said that she'll achieve bigger success than Ning Xia in the future. She's really popular. Song Ning nodded calmly. Ha! Do you still not understand? Jiehui asked, furrowing her eyebrows. I understand, but I don't understand what point you're trying to make. Song Ning took a sip of coffee. Jiehui stared at Song Ning and gritted her teeth before she said, my point is Mu Chen had a rumored girlfriend who's very beautiful. Oh. Song Ning nodded, expressing she understood Jiahui. The two looked at each other silently for a moment. Then. The two women asked in unison. Then what? I know about this. Mu Chen told me she's not his ex-girlfriend. He said that he has no ex-girlfriends, Song Ning said as she looked at Jiahui. Chapter 50. Looking for trouble. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 50. Looking for trouble, do you really believe everything he says? Jiahui asked exasperatedly. Of course. Don't tell me you think I should look for his rumored girlfriend and fight her. Why should I do something like that? Song Ning asked. Jiahui looked at Song Ning speechlessly, furious. Song Ning patted Jiahui's head and said. Girl, remember to tell me when you fall in love someday. I hope you won't get fooled. You easily get emotional. Me. You're talking about me. An expression of disbelief appeared on Jiahui's face as she pointed at her nose. Song Ning moved her chair closer to her desk before she said, when you get into a relationship, remember to focus on your partner instead of focusing on outsiders and rumors. You must trust your partner. Jiahui retorted, you trusted Fu Luo, look at what happened in the end. Weren't you fooled by Fu Luo as well? Song Ning's expression darkened immediately. Upon seeing this, Jiahui knew she had touched a sore spot. She hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry, Ning. Song Ning shook her head slightly. You're right, Jiahui, but I have a clear conscience in regard to my actions and behavior when I was with Fu Luo. Therefore, I chose to trust Mu Chen and give him the benefit of the doubt. If I discover he's deceiving me in the future, I'll just break things off with him. Jiahui, I have a clear conscience for how I acted during my relationship with Fu Luo. So similarly, I choose to believe Mu Chen. If he deceives me one day in the future, I'll just break things off with him in time. No one can predict the future, so there's no point worrying about what might or might not happen. Do you understand? Jiahui looked at Song Ning blankly. At this moment, she could not help but feel concerned about Mu Chen. Sir, I'm worried about your future. It was obvious Song Ning had been keeping her guard up. Jiahui wondered if Song Ning understood what it meant to fall in love. Did Song Ning know what love was? Song Ning was obviously an obtuse primitive woman. Jiahui clicked her tongue, frustrated and speechless. Mr. Mu, you still have a long way to go before you can win her heart. At this moment, a melodious female voice rang from outside the door. Is this the place? Song Ning and Jiahui looked up in unison. A slender woman with a black mask covering the lower half of her face walked through the door. Apart from her eyes, she had covered herself up from head to toe. Next to the woman, a girl dressed in plain clothes, who looked like she was still a student, nodded and replied, yes, this is the place. At the same time, two tall men wearing sunglasses and black suits stood behind them. The masked woman looked around before she asked Song Ning and Jiahui, is Song Ning here? With a hint of charm, the woman's voice was pleasing to the ears. Song Ning stood up. That's me. The woman's exposed eyes narrowed immediately as she sized Song Ning up. You're pretty good. Looking, Jiahui stepped forward and stood in front of Song Ning. Who are you? What do you want? At this time, most people have gone out for lunch. This was the office for the Chinese medicine students. It was isolated so it would not be easy for outsiders to find their way here. Jiahui's instincts told her these people were here to look for trouble. The masked woman reached out and pushed Jiahui to the side as she said, this is none of your business. Then, she pointed at Song Ning before she continued to say, I'm looking for her, not you. Stand aside. Jiahui stumbled slightly after she was pushed aside. She asked in annoyance, who are you? Are you here to cause trouble? I'm calling the police. Song Ning grabbed Jiahui and looked at the finger that was pointed at her before she calmly asked, what's the matter? The masked woman was stunned. She did not expect Song Ning to be so calm. When she recovered her senses, she asked, "Do you know Mu Chen?" Realization dawned on Jiahui at this moment. "Are you that Yi Xian?" Song Ning could not help but laugh. Jiahui was rather observant. Yi Xian pulled the mask off her face before she sneered at Jiahui. "How smart of you." Jiahui moved to stand in front of Yi Xian again before she said, "What do you want? Look for Mu Chen if you have a problem. Why would you come here to look for Song Ning instead?" Song Ning reached out and pulled Jiahui back. She knew Jiahui was instinctively protective of her, just like an old hen guarding its chicks. A contemptuous smile appeared on Yi Xian's face as she said pointedly, "It seems you're aware of the reason I'm here. In that case, you better keep a distance from Mu Chen. Divorce him. Do you hear me?" Seemingly amused, Jiahui glanced at Song Ning and asked, "Is this person mentally ill?" Song Ning did reply to Jiahui. Instead, she looked at Yi Xian quietly. So this was the person who was known as Little Ningxiao. Were she and this woman really alike? Needless to say, Yi Xian was infuriated by Jiahui's words. "You're the one who's mentally ill." Song Ning pushed Jiahui behind her and whispered, "Stop it." Then, she looked at Yi Xian and asked indifferently, "Does Mu Chen know you're here?" Yi Xian was rendered speechless by Song Ning's words. Song Ning continued to say, "Would you like me to call Mu Chen? Two people's consent is needed to get married, and the same is true for a divorce. I'll agree to the divorce if he agrees to it. Perhaps, you should talk to him." Song Ning's composure was like the oil to Yi Xian's fire. Her body trembled slightly from the fury as she looked at Song Ning. She tried her best to calm herself down before she finally said, "Scheming *tch. Name your price. How much did he pay you to marry him? I'll double the price for you to divorce him immediately."